get a backup here because I'm not empty.
Did you do that? No, but I'm good.
I'm sorry, I haven't drank it for 3 weeks, so I didn't.
It's Wine Wednesday.
Welcome.
How's everybody doing? What's wrong with? Oh, I think this thing is in the way here a little bit, or not. What's happening? Why is it so dark on the bottom? Hey Terry, how are you? Do you see
we
what
don't
I mean?
have our computers today, but
Oh yeah. So you want to?
so we can't really see who's
So we'll have
saying
to
anything. But
Too bad it
today
doesn't read us the comments.
We've got a fun one today. We're gonna.
this
we're
is
gonna-
a fun one, and you can kind of see that our background has changed. So we're with our newest, our home renovator.
That's me.
That's
me.
our newest episode of
So
HGTV.
Wayne just flipped a house, and so we decided for Wine Wednesday that we were going to show you a tour of it. And I know that you can check out previous photos on Wayne's.
We'll post a link of the property in our comments later.
Yeah, it's just really fun to see.
It is very fun to see, and I am looking out this window for the first time. That shed is like a little hobbit house.
Do you remember
And
the
that
tree?
tree is the biggest tree I have ever seen.
Do you remember
in
I was
my
telling
life.
you about the tree?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
It's
that-
Could
gotta
you
be
even have
hundreds
imagined?
of years old. No.
That was way bigger than my tree that I
It
had.
looks
I
like
cut
3
down.
trees growing
It
together.
does.
Yeah.
So we'll show you on that too. Hey Herbert, how are you? But this house is beautiful. Wayne, you did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Seriously,
I'm pretty proud.
You should
Yeah.
be. This is
Not gonna lie.
gorgeous.
So tell us where we are.
We're in Westgate,
Yep.
west side of Columbus.
West side of Columbus, and Wayne, did you do the work yourself or?
I did some stuff myself. I painted and, did the non-techie, I don't know, techie's the right word. I didn't do electric or plumbing or anything like
Yeah.
that.
You hired contractors for that.
Yeah.
So let's start at the very beginning.
And demo. I love tearing stuff
How
up.
many houses did you look at? How many houses did you offer on? Is the market as hot for that as it is for
Oh, it's
everything
even
else?
worse,
Is it
'cause
worse?
it's like-
Everybody wants to flip a house.
Because, to flip a house and make money, you got to get a good deal.
Right.
And this isn't the market for getting a good deal.
Right.
Right.
So we actually looked at, the viewers can't see, but just straight across, we're by St. Mary Magdalene Church, if anybody's familiar with Westgate. And right across from this house is a house we offered on. And that house was listed, I think at I want to say 90.
Okay.
And we offered up to 110 cash and close in a week because it was vacant. So we kind of thought that would be attractive to them.
Yeah.
That they could just get their money and run, And we lost, $20,000 over list price, cash,
Yeah.
fast close, no inspection,
Wow.
no appraisal contingency, and we lost. So, it is super competitive. Yeah,
So
just as much as
I've been working with a couple women that are wanting to do their own, renovation somewhere that they're going to live in a duplex, and it's tough. I mean, people are going over asking with cash, and I mean, it was $30,000 over asking with cash, and it's tough. And I know when I bought my house, I bought a foreclosed house, and it was in 2016, so the market was a little bit different. I bought a HUD house. So HUD houses, investors aren't allowed to buy because you have to live in a HUD house for a year before you can sell it. So investors aren't really allowed to buy.
You're not allowed to buy in the owner-occupant period.
Yeah,
which is
until it's opened up.
Yeah.
If nobody bids on it and there's not an acceptable bid within that first time on a HUD house, then it will go into where investors can bid on it.
But it's not making it that
But I
far.
got it.
Because you know what you're doing.
So, and
Or
but-
does she?
What's going
Yes, she does.
on
She's a good
now is we're not seeing foreclosed houses.
No, there are not.
And even if we do, they're not discounting like they were.
Right.
And everybody has this misconception that because it's bank owned,
Yeah.
because it's somewhat been the
Because
case in the past.
We
but-
were seeing so many
Right.
foreclosed houses or HUD houses.
Right.
And HUD is just a different type of foreclosure. But now people keep asking me, well, why can't I buy a foreclosed house? Like, you can. They're just not, they'll still show up in your MLS search. However, investors are going to the sheriff sale
Yes.
and outbidding the bank.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's why we're not seeing foreclosed houses on your searches.
Well, there's just
Well,
not
that-
as many of them.
well, that
which is
and
a good
fewer
thing.
people are
Right,
getting
there's
foreclosed
people-
on.
Right,
defaulting as much.
Yeah.
I've gone to sheriff's sale, not a lot. I mean, I've probably
Yeah.
been 3 or 4 times. But I went probably 2016-ish, around that time, and the room, like, it's at the courthouse downtown, and like it's in kind of a nondescript, what looks kind of like a hotel conference room kind of room. And you know, 2 or 3 years ago, you know, the room had maybe 30 people in it. You know, I mean, 20 to 30 people. I went before we bought this, you know, about 6-7 weeks ago, and you couldn't stand in the room.
Really?
So crazy.
Oh, there's over 100 people in the room. So it's like, you know, my friend Lindsay, you know, who flips houses as well, I call them the sharks. You know, the sharks are out, like, you know, like, because it's like they're there, and it's like it's an interesting people watching experience. So
just for the experience. Yeah.
I mean, literally. I mean, and Lindsay said it was kind of funny because we're both kind of competitive and like the whole betting process and all that. She's like, I think I found my new addiction.
Is that a good one?
So many people are wanting to flip houses because they have all of these seminars now, like, you know, come to this, learn how to flip a house. It's not that easy.
Well, you know, let's be honest.
It is hard. It is so much work.
Let's be honest with this too. Investors, people who are flipping homes, are not making a ton of money on these
the
homes.
margins are much
The
smaller.
margins are what, probably 20 grand. I mean, it's not.
Depends. I think
Depends on the house,
it's,
but
it's
it
like
is.
our normal answer. But on the
It's not going to be what you.
when
think
you
it
watch in
is.
California, you know that flip or flop show, and
Right.
you're like, and we made $90,000.
Yeah, that's
Time to
it's
find
not
another
true.
house to
It's not
flip.
true.
You know, and it's like maybe
It's
it is. I don't
TV.
know. Like
It's-
it is so made for TV. Like
Right.
and that stuff. Like every time, it's like, you know. I mean, listen. One of the things and the riskiest part of this is the surprises and things of the unknown that you don't know before you get in and you start tearing out walls and doing this and that.
Did you have surprises?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not, you know, a heavy hitter with flips. You know, I've done I think 5, you know, ish. So every time you're gonna find something, like, you know, it's just inevitable. But like on that show, like they're like, you know, they know what they're gonna sell the house for, and they know they're gonna make $100,000 or whatever, you know. And he's like, oh, you know, he's like, that's gonna cost you an extra $5 grand, really?
Right.
And you're stressing about that, like
Yeah.
you spent $400,000
Right.
on a house.
So maybe it is true in California that
Well, I think
there's different
Well, the thing I
price
find-
range and
the thing I find is margins go up with price point. So if you're flipping a more expensive home, like for instance, sheriff's sale. Sheriff's sale bidding, there's an appraised value, and the bidding starts at 2/3 that appraised value. So if you're flipping a $100,000 house, the bidding's going to start at $66,000.
Okay.
Leaves you no margin. By the time you fix it, pay closing costs, agents, everything, there's no money to be made.
Okay. Right.
You get to a $600,000 house, and the bidding starts at $400,000. You know, now you've
Sure.
probably got more money to spend.
but it's bigger.
But yeah,
there's
so-
more updating to do.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but you end up with more of a wiggle room, right? I mean, because usually
Yeah.
the 600s aren't as trashed as like a $100,000.
Right,
house, you know.
right.
Now they're usually
Can you
updated.
finance at a sheriff's
Yes.
sale?
Yeah, so that's a risk as well, because basically, so when you go in, you pay a deposit, and the deposit is based upon the size of the purchase. So like, I think it's like if you're buying one like I can't remember for sure, but I want to say like your deposit's like $5 grand on a $100,000 house. $600,000 house is probably like 10 grand or 15 even. You can finance, but there is no contingency. So in the end, if your financing falls apart, you do not get that deposit back. The deposit's gone.
Okay.
Like, so
That makes sense.
now that's all you're going to lose, but that's a lot, you know. Now, and I don't think they're going to try to force you through the sale or anything like that. I mean, it's kind of a moot point if it falls through. But
Right.
in any case, there's risks in trying to finance. But generally, the way it works is you go in. If you're the winning bidder, there has to be what's called the confirmation of the sale. So the confirmation of the sale means that the debtor or the person who's been foreclosed on, or if it's a tax lien, has back taxes, that person has a period of time or it's the right of redemption period.
Right.
So they can go back and they can make good on their debt or on paying back taxes. if they do that, your sale is canceled. So if you're the buyer, you get your deposit back, sale is canceled, it's over. At the end of the redemption period, if they haven't redeemed themselves, then the sale is confirmed. And once the sale is confirmed, you've got 30 days to close. So it's kind of like our deal.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, I don't know what happens, with lenders. Lenders, things get delayed, something
Sure.
at the end of 30 days. I don't know what happens. Like if you just lose the deposit and it's canceled, I don't know what happens at that point. Like,
Yeah.
But financing is a risk. But
Yeah, it always is. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Well, flipping a house is a risk.
It's
you
all
use the
risk.
NDA formula when you
I know I
purchase.
can't read that far away.
But
But
I have to say, Corey, if you tell me what MDA means, maybe I'll if I did. Like, I probably not. I'm guessing.
so was this mostly cosmetics that you had to fix up?
So we got into some surprises here. So the biggest of which was they had put like 6x6 cardboard kind of ceiling tiles up throughout the house, and I kind of figured there was a reason, but what we found was in some rooms the reason was bad. Like the ceilings just were not salvageable because this house was built, I think, in the 20s. So all the walls originally are plaster, including the ceilings. And once plaster starts to crumble,
It's gone.
depending on how bad, you can maybe fix it, but for the most part, very difficult and time consuming. So we took ceilings down. These ceilings in here we patched. The ceilings in
Ceilings look nice.
one bedroom upstairs had to come down completely.
Yeah.
Half in another bedroom, kitchen ceiling down completely.
Wow.
Should we show people around?
Yeah, well, let's talk a little more and then we'll
Yeah.
get up and
So, how much time were you here? How much time can someone expect to spend in their home?
well, my plan was to not be here a lot.
I know there was one night just a couple nights ago you were here until
2:30 in the
2:30
morning.
in the morning.
So I had not planned to be here at all, or much at all. I mean, I was going to do
Just
demo
have
and some
contractors
little
and
stuff.
do
But when the surprise expense bill starts adding up, you do what you can to cut costs.
Sure.
And they show on the flipping shows, like Flip or Flop or Flipping Out or whatever. They show them, like that Christina woman and Tarek, and they're dressed in like nice clothes and they're in there like putting tile up. They're shooting B-roll. Those people are not doing that.
Right,
Like
right.
they are just not. And she's got her nails all manicured and
Not
she's
happening.
I mean, look at me. I've got bruises all over me. My fingernails still have grout under them that I cannot get out. Like, so it's like, so, I think, people go in with great illusions. That this is, I can pay my contractor. Look, labor's expensive.
Well, I think that's what I'm afraid of with the inexperienced person who's just getting into it is they're thinking they're going to do this all themselves.
You're not going to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
Unless you're
A
by
background
trade.
in contracting.
By trade,
Yeah.
but you're just not.
See, we did all the work on my house.
Well, but you
ourselves.
could string it out over a period of time,
Right,
right? Like
and we
you-
did. Right, so if we were flipping the house, it probably
This was 6 weeks
I mean,
from start to now. Like,
we did most of it pretty quickly. I think we had it pretty livable and almost completely done.
and you're very handy. You're good at that. Like,
Well, I learned to be handy.
well, when you buy a house, you learn. To
But
be handy.
who's
my
not
family,
handy?
my family was very handy, so I was very, very lucky with that. But if I had to pay somebody to do that work, I couldn't afford to buy a house to flip.
That's one of the things I tell people. Everybody watches these TV shows, and it's not even the investor, it's just the common buyer. I don't really work with investors on this kind of stuff. But they I can get this so cheap and do all this stuff. I'm like, you really have no idea what you're getting into with some of these homes. And most of them are going to require a ton of work.
Yeah, and everybody's idea, I guess, of upgrades is different than others. But
Sure.
And you have to be cognizant of that. You have to be not fixing the. And I think this is the biggest first time or early flipper mistake is you're doing this, spending money like you're doing your own home. Like, like spending money on fixtures and whatever cabinets because you like it and because that's what you would put in your house. And that's
Right.
a big mistake.
That's
Repurposing
interesting.
everything possible.
Everything possible, and then putting stuff in based on what your competition is. You know, so it's like, you know, if a house has laminate countertops, don't go buy granite. Don't, you know, you don't need granite. Or if
You mean
know,
in the neighborhood, the comparables?
yeah, right. Like
yeah,
if what
yeah.
you're selling and, you know, a similar priced home, you know, and there's one that my luck hit the market today for almost the same price, you know, and flipped and all that stuff. So
And
it's
then
like,
there's that side of it.
yeah. So, but anyway, so it's like, you know, just spend wisely. And the other mistake is I think early on, you know, and I put together a budget. You can budget for everything you possibly can or that you can think of. But I'll tell you, that budget goes out the window, can go out the window really fast. And so,
budgets don't really
Because of the surprises?
well, the surprises and just things you can't, especially in an order home, I know you can't think of everything.
Right,
You just
right.
can't. And, you know, I think a lot of people go in and you've got, say, a $30,000 budget. So $30,000 is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So early on, you're more free spending, right? Because you've got $30,000 to spend and you think you've budgeted for all of it.
Yeah.
Well, then you blow through your 30 grand and you find surprises or things you didn't think about and you've already blown through your budget. So be equally as frugal on day 1 as you are on day 30 because
Definitely for
10, 20, 30, 40, trust me, you'll be at the other thing that they don't show on the flipping shows, and I'm having another beer because this has been
Hey.
stressful. So,
Cheers.
Cheers. But the other thing, you spend a lot of time back and forth to Home Depot or Lowe's.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
Well,
You know the aisles by heart.
Listen,
you know exactly.
I ran into Wayne
I know
at,
better than the store. She saw me.
I saw him at Floors Decor and More. I happened to, well, I needed to go there, but we were meeting for something which I can't remember. He was frazzled. Like, I mean, you were in my favorite Wayne state. He was angry and hostile. He was mad.
I remember it was a bad day because
Yeah, it
we
was a
had
bad day.
So in the tile we did subway tiles, or in the shower we did subway tiles around. And I didn't buy enough of the bullnose trim, the finished edge that goes like where it's exposed on the edge of the
And
tile.
how much extra should you buy?
You know, when you measure, I would buy at least 10 to 20% extra.
I've always
Really? Of everything?
10%
Of
And take
all
it
of
back.
it?
Like, you know, you can take stuff
Right,
back.
yeah.
Like, but that extra time back and forth. But my mistake was I didn't buy enough. And then when I went back to the store, she's like, "Oh, we don't have any more of that, and it's going to be 5 weeks." And I'm like, I lost my mind. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, I had 4 tiles, 4, and even though the tiles are white, you think, "Oh, I can just go buy white tiles
No,
somewhere
No,
else."
they're different whites.
White is not just white. Like it is 70 different colors of white, and
Shades of
the
white.
shape is just a little
Did you change
different.
it then?
So it was like that. So we put some temporary.
You mean take it all out?
No.
Well, I didn't know
Oh.
if it was in yet.
Yeah, it was all.
Oh, it
all
was
of
in.
the tile was in except
Except
for
the
the
4
4.
pieces.
And so yeah, so that's why I was kind of I was that
He
day.
was.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah,
And it
it's
makes
fine.
me a little nauseous just thinking about it right now. But but no, so
fine.
luckily I'm fine. I'm fine.
Fine.
I'm making
So if you've ever been on my Facebook page and you saw me tag Wayne in that Friends video, that was that day.
Yeah.
Fine.
Fine. I'm
I have
fine.
no idea why I'm saying it so high and squeaky.
Yeah. But yeah, so luckily by the time we were to this stage, more had come in.
Yeah.
And I went. and
Oh,
bought
that's
it.
Good. Yeah.
I bought some that was ever so close at Home Depot that if it had to be,
Yeah.
it was going to
You
have to
could've.
be.
Mhm.
Which I knew, and it glared at me every time I went in there. And it made
Oh
me,
yeah, if you the slightest bit of
Yeah.
OCD, you're gonna
But no one else, I don't think, ever would have noticed. But if you come and you buy my house, it's all the way it's supposed to be.
yeah. And I mean, this is I'm amazed. This is beautiful.
Mhm.
You have very good taste. You do a
It
great
is
job
so cute.
with the decorating and the finishes.
My mom always said that this goes back to the comment about finishing for the neighborhood, not yourself. But I do have champagne tastes.
Wow.
Champagne
That's
tastes on a beer budget. My mom always said so.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. Wow.
So,
Any other advice you would give to anyone? No pressure.
Antidepressants, anti-anxiety pills, not a
Liquor.
bad thing. Liquor, having it handy at all times.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, I enjoyed this thoroughly. I really did, and this one more than anyone I've ever done. And I think it's partially because I'm a little more seasoned now.
Yeah.
I know a little bit more about what I'm doing. Not enough to buy an extra tile, but whatever. So, but I was more fun with this. Having that been said, there are going to be days you question your life and your life choices and whether or not this was a good idea. But my advice is buy smart. Don't be emotional about this. This is all about money.
Yeah.
And nothing else. I mean, I want to provide someone a nice home, a solid home,
Right.
a beautiful home, someone can enjoy for a long time. And honestly, that's one of the biggest rewards is you go to closing and you see how excited they are, just kind of like when we sell any house. But for one that you put this much sweat and
Right.
blood, into, that it's like you see the joy in someone that it brings to someone, and that's nice. So, but don't make it emotional. And I think it's very easy, just like buying any home in this market, is when you're buying, make your budget and be as good about the budget as you can and very realistic. It's, early on in the first ones I did, I was not realistic on what I was budgeting because that's what I
Yeah.
wanted. I wanted it to be, but there's a reality, and it's a harsh reality sometimes. So buy smart, budget, be measured in what you purchase. And the as much as realtors is, I'd love to sell you something. The MLS and the sheriff sales are not your only options for buying. There are other places to find foreclosed homes. So diligence, I think, is key, and just making sure that you.
Don't want people to. Only realtors.
But I just think that being very smart, realistic, and pragmatic about how you do this,
Yeah.
and you'll be successful.
It's
worth it.
it's a lot of work. I think it's so much more work than people realize than it is, and so that's
Well, I think that's ultimately all. Yeah.
what we're trying to get to.
Yeah. I think that it's just TV is not real, and did you ever watch my biggest lesson in reality TV was The Hills. TV.
So for the longest time, I thought that was a real show.
I swear to God, it was. And
'Cause that's how they did it, right?
argue
It was
about
supposed to
this
be like a
all
real
the
show.
time.
It's
Yeah.
like an honest show.
It was scripted.
Really?
Yes.
I did find that out
And they say
after the
that
fact.
now.
I never watched it,
They
but
go back and they're like, it was. Maybe not all the scenes were scripted, but a lot of it was, and staged, and they made it all happen. And
I don't really remember. It was
so,
like 10 years ago.
the fact of the matter is, those HGTV shows are
House
all as well,
Hunters,
and they're
all
not
of them,
making.
like-
Maybe
House
those.
Hunters, right? People don't see 3 houses and have to decide.
right.
Where you
And they've already bought the house that they,
yeah.
when they're
That
filming
they
all of that,
live
they've
in,
already
yeah.
bought the house.
Mhm.
So, question reality.
Yeah.
Right.
And just know, I think too, you do need out-of-pocket cash.
Yes.
A lot.
Okay, that's a good question. So there are financing options
Yeah.
for flipping homes. These things you hear on the radio, and they're pretty
They're
magnificent
prevalent.
now.
I mean,
Like,
there's
they're just so
all the
many.
time.
Well, they're making money, right? They're selling programs, and it's people stay away from that.
Well,
okay?
it's like the coaching or whatever. If you were that good at your job, why are you doing this now?
Right.
Like there's some actor now that's coming to Columbus,
Yeah, it's,
which I was like, who is it?
Dean King.
Is it Dean Cain of Superman?
Yeah.
And he's flipping houses now, so
'Cause
he'll sell you if you.
I've had the radio on a lot.
Yeah, in here.
And like I can sing you the Fine Line Auto Body commercial, all the commercials. The woman talking about her number 2 grosses me out so bad.
Is there a number 3?
That
I
commercial,
listen to the radio a lot. I drive
I
around
want
a
to
lot.
smash the radio every time.
But
I
I changed.
but anyways, yeah. So I digress. But there are financing options.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, having that been said, there's what's called hard money, which is a private lender is lending you money. And
Like
that,
a person.
After the fact, it's not
a
in
person,
the
or it could be
mortgage.
investors or
Right?
whatever.
Is that what you mean
A
by
loan
that?
Yeah,
shark.
not like a Chase Bank or
Yeah.
First
Yeah.
Federal or whatever the bank is. Like, it's more of a
But
private
you can
investor.
also tie it into your mortgage.
into your primary home mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
That is an option, like a home equity line.
Right, I'm just saying if you did like a 203K with an FHA
Oh, yeah.
or conventional.
Like if you're doing this to flip though, if you're doing this as an investment, 203K is not an option.
Oh, really?
No.
I didn't know that.
There are, because, so, all right, I'll try to make this as painless as possible. So first option, hard money. It's going to be above 10% or more interest rate. It's private investors and you're going to have closing costs. So it's going to eat big into your margins. That's one option. Second option is there are more traditional lenders, and I have a couple that I know that have specific programs for this. Lower interest rate, but you're going to have to put 20% down and 20% on the post renovation value. You're buying $100,000, you're putting $20,000 in, so your total is $120. 20% of $120 is what you have to put down.
Okay.
You're not going to get away on a loan like that putting less than 20%. Third option, kind of what you along the lines, if you own your current home, you could pull equity from that home in the form of an home equity line if you have equity.
Yeah.
And you could purchase that way.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, cash is king. But and then there are some other options. But I mean, those I think are probably the 3 or 4 primary options.
Mm-hmm.
So Corey had asked if we use this MDA method, and what he's referring to is that 10% of your post renovation value is kind of like your closing and carrying costs. Carrying costs meaning interest, closing costs, all that kind of stuff. Which I think is a pretty popular method to kind of figure out whether or not you're going to make money on a price house. Somewhat along the lines, Corey, yes, we did that. We were fortunate to pay cash, so we didn't have bank closing costs and fees, and we didn't have, and we don't have interest. I mean, I think you should kind of factor in some form of interest, because if that money was in a county, you'd be making money on it somewhere else. So.
And depending on the area, you have to think about taxes too.
Taxes, yeah, closing costs, taxes. So those kinds of things all factor in. But but I think that's the gist of it. And I mean, I think it's not rocket science. I mean, there's certainly I'm not the brightest guy. I'm not the brightest guy in the world. So it's like if I can do it, I feel like a lot of people could do it. But again,
I think
you've got to
the
be
hardest part of it is finding what would be a good investment.
That's
That's what I struggle with. Because I would love to flip a house, but it's like, what house to flip? And even as a realtor and knowing the market and understanding the areas and all of that, it's still.
So my advice with that is, and that's part of the reason this is my investment here in this house specifically. All the houses I flipped have been in this neighborhood.
It was
and I lived in this neighborhood for 10 years. So I know this. I mean, I can go through and name you the streets and the cross streets and the stuff around here. It's like I know this area so well.
Not really investments.
So, but my advice is just like searching for a home you're going to live in. The first thing I tell people who don't know where they want to live, let's start narrowing that down, right? Let's start looking at areas. Let's start looking at different, things that you want, or whatever. But this has become kind of my comfort zone. Like I know this. I just and again, 6 years ago, you had the pick of the litter, right? You could do whatever you want. Like,
right. Let me ask you this.
Now I have an alert set up and it comes up and I watch it. Like,
for Westgate.
Or if you want to go start knocking doors.
See, I mean,
look at houses with
in
dilapidated.
Do you think it's a different kind of flip between, like a Westgate neighborhood, which I would consider more starter homes? I mean, this is
first time buyer central. Yeah.
Okay, but people stay here. It's not just they buy a home and then 5 years they move. I mean, that
was our plan, but we lived here for 10 years.
Yeah. This is, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's kind of, Westgate is kind of Hilltop, Broad Street, Sullivan Avenue. There's a pretty tight HOA in here, community watch program.
Yep.
It's very active. The people that live here are very active in the community. So you move in here, and it's somewhere you would stay. For the most part. But do you feel like the flip of a Westgate first time home buyer neighborhood is going to be much different than say something in like Olentangy Schools? You get in that way high dollar. you know.
So I think, I think there's so many things that are parallel to the normal market, or for the owner-occupant market and the investor market, that we know because we do this all the time, and that 150 to 300 price range, things are popping, right? You get over 300, 350, up into the fours, you have a smaller buyer pool, things are moving a little slower. So, I think there are inherent risks with any property. I think there's a bigger risk in the more money you're spending.
Sure.
And, if you're doing this on a first time and you've sitting on a ton of cash, got on you, go buy, a home in Olentangy for 400 and put 100 in it and sell it for 6. And you can do that.
Would the same ideas translate? Like, as far as decorating concepts, obviously repairs are repairs. It's not like, but you think someone that would they specialize in a certain price point or neighborhood, or I don't know.
I think it's where the opportunity
arises.
Where the opportunity arises that fits within what you can
Sure.
sell.
You don't see a lot of flips on higher end properties.
I see a lot.
I don't know. Yeah, it's an
I
interesting
see a-
concept to me. I think, it probably, I do see them
Not
more in the
until
lower
this.
price points. It's maybe more, I tend to work with a lot of first time home buyers. So I do see, we
see
go
like
see
100
flips.
to like 250-ish,
Mhm.
I would say.
Yeah.
So I have an investor client that purchased. So our office is in downtown Dublin, and then if you know downtown Dublin, there's the Starbucks parking lot, and then directly on the other side of the Starbucks parking lot is Franklin Street.
Yeah.
And the backyards back up to basically all downtown Dublin has to offer there. So I had an investor client that bought one, and that was I think it was a $300,000 house. They're making some pretty substantial upgrades to it, but it's on the market right now for $600.
Well,
so,
you know what? My house in Grandview, I had a listing in Grandview that an investor ended up buying, and it too ended up selling to $600.
I think Grandview's a little bit different market too.
Yeah, Grandview's a weird. I mean, that's
Grandview is
Grandview is. I mean,
it's
if
a
you can
hot.
get it,
that is
If you
unlike
get a good deal.
anything I have. I mean, neighbors.
if I could get a good deal in Grandview, we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
We'd be in Grandview.
Right.
So, well, should we take this?
I mean, not
tour?
that Westgate. I didn't mean it that way, but it's like
No.
I'd be buying another one. in
Grandview's
Grandview.
a very hard market to break into,
And it's almost impossible.
well, it is
Yeah.
because it's a kind of word on the street.
has raised in value.
Well,
so
but
much.
it's so secret. Like neighbors get word,
Like
and that
it's-
house is
yes.
sold before.
Like in parent
That's
groups
true.
or whatever,
I've
like
seen
someone
that.
will say
Yeah,
we're thinking of moving and they've already sold it. Like,
It's crazy. And people like so people are moving like, oh god.
You get a call.
I know, and this is my daughter,
Sarah.
Sarah.
Are you not
She
watching?
should know. Are you not watching, Sarah? She's not, clearly. So let me tell you about my daughter. She's going to like a summer church
Well, that
camp,
reminds me, yeah.
right? So they left yesterday. She and her roommate Sarah left to go, and I get a call later in the day. We're not supposed to be here until tomorrow. Oh yeah, they're in Sandusky. So I'm like,
Go to Cedar Point for the day.
I got them a room at Castaway Bay.
Oh, that'd be fun.
She said it was fun. Yeah, but
She did that on purpose.
I don't know. Go enjoy your last night of freedom. They got a bottle of wine and went to the water park.
That's awesome. That
Yeah.
sounds like so much fun right now.
So I think we should do a tour of your
let's
fine
do it.
listing. Now, just ignore the dining room because we moved everything around. This was perfectly staged
They
just
ruined
a hot
the
second
stage.
ago.
No, just kidding. Alright, oops.
And let me flip you all around. Bam.
Alright.
Ooh.
Rotate your phone.
So, where do you want to start?
You guys will just, I'm gonna follow.
Oh,
you.
we're just gonna
do this like
follow.
a tour in the house.
Woo.
So,
All
living
right.
room, fireplace with burning.
So,
Now we have some touch-ups. I'm gonna warn you. You're gonna
Right
see some damn
over.
paint. I got work to do tonight.
Well, you may now that he pointed it out.
Right. Oh no.
look at the fireplace.
So just want to say beautiful,
Wait,
beautiful
is it
hardwood floors.
functioning Fireplace?
Is it-
I will say that they used it. It was heavily used. I would have it inspected, but it.
So we're just going to enter into the kitchen. Everyone's...
Mine-
I'm so trendy right now, but it's
Alright, next.
I'm sorry, I think it's more interesting when we're all together.
Oh, I follow you, Jenny. Mine's trying to reconnect, so.
Oh, so Wayne, tell us. I mean, this is
Here, I'm gonna do
eating.
this like house hunters.
Yeah.
So this
Do.
is the kitchen.
This is the kitchen.
Don't you love that? They always tell you like, this is the kitchen.
This is the
As if
kitchen.
it's not obvious, right?
It's not obvious. Look, he's got the leather finish, granite.
So leather finish granite, same
Yes.
tile you'll find on the bathroom floor and on the fireplace.
Gorgeous.
Landing.
This is
Stainless
gorgeous.
appliances.
Eating kitchen space.
Wayne, I think I might need to buy this house. I think the
love
Reitzes need
this
to
house.
move to
I'm telling you,
Westgate.
I love this neighborhood.
Is this
I
a
really
pantry?
Oh, this is the best
Oh my gosh! So this is the charm of an older home. I need to see in the kitchen.
thing. My phone's not working, so.
That's all right. I'm watching you iron.
Ironing.
You iron your shirt, just the front, the back, and when you need to iron the sleeves, you bring this guy down, you put the sleeve on.
So, do you remember that house? Okay, so in Grandview, speaking of Grandview, there are sometimes you'll come across like these hidden, like little, not like this, not big like this, but smaller. Well, there was a house that I had buyers buy in Grandview that had, okay, well, so we don't want to have to watch you. No. I just didn't, but they were shoe shine compartment. So you, like when you pulled it out, it was just like that, but it had a thing for your shoe and then little
Wait, is it worth
compartment.
going downstairs?
Yeah. You can show them the shiplap, because everybody loves shiplap.
Shiplap.
Joanna Gaines.
Yes, Joanna Gaines style here.
Shiplap.
Is the did you install the shiplap or was this
What
here?
is
Nope,
it?
we had that installed.
To the backyard. There's your door.
That goes to the side, yep. This ironing board thing,
Yeah.
it's uncommon that they're still in most of the homes.
Right.
Most of them, people put shelves and they put their spices in there.
Oh.
But I like that it's still
Yeah, so here's dining room.
into the backyard, showing the giant tree.
Oh yeah, you have to see because we talked about the Hobbit house shed.
And
and the
the yard's a hot mess. Ignore that.
No, it isn't. It's beautiful. So there's the big old tree.
I clearly painted in the backyard.
That needs the treehouse guy.
You could so put a nice treehouse in that thing.
Are chickens allowed in Westgate?
I don't think
Columbus?
they're allowed.
I think you can have them here.
I don't
Would the
think they're
HOA
big.
have an issue?
Well, it's
All right.
not like a traditional HOA. Like it's not
Oh, like they're not going to tell you.
the HOA is voluntary.
Okay.
And it's kind of a get to know your neighbor.
Gotcha. So, this is original iron.
Original handrails, wood. The floors are all original. This is where you're gonna see the dink paint.
No, we're not, because you're not going to point it out. Stop. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
So,
Oh,
I love the built-ins. So you can see that he left the original built-ins in here.
Yep.
Amanda's taking us on tour now. Continue.
Original built-ins.
Oh.
Love.
Lots of storage. Lots of
Love,
towel
love.
storage and whatever. So
These are actually really, really nice room sizes.
Yeah.
don't sit on the beds. Those are just air mattresses.
Okay, no.
Like,
You must be a stager.
I'm putting signs on
So,
those just in case some kid doesn't go
FYI,
flying
for
through.
everyone watching, that's a trick from stagers. So,
Yes, it is. Don't let your children jump on beds.
The lights. One of the biggest things we did up here was add the can lights in the ceiling, since the ceilings were
Oh.
Oh
red.
my god,
Yeah.
it's so nice. So
this is
light fixtures, which is so great. to
Shiplap.
have in houses. I
and
saw
exposed
this
brick. Holy cow.
At that archway. Love the archway. It's
Amanda
such a
loves
cute
the
little
archway. I do
nook.
too. Because
Turn the
Amanda's
light
got
on,
really good
that's how
taste.
we like show house.
Yeah, it's such a cute space right in there. I mean, you can put your little office or like they did, just a cozy little sitting space. And
And I have a dresser to
Shiplap,
put up. I just
exposed
decided
brick.
not to.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah. Gosh. Okay. More shiplap.
It's amazing. Again, lights.
Hardwood floors throughout, which are original. All original.
All original.
And
I love the finish on them.
Yeah.
Wayne.
really
This
so
is
cute.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. An original.
Beautiful.
All right. Wayne, your creator.
Everyone have a great Wine Wednesday.
Bye,
There's Wine
guys.
Henry. Bye.
Bye, y'all.